Interest in Moorish nationalism continues to grow.
They'd say that they have ancestral rights to the land here.
Moorish Americans don't do those kind of things, and it's written in our laws.
Moorish nationals don't believe they were ever citizens to begin with. The rules are wrong in the first place. Is it okay to break them? What is it exactly that you all want?
Freedom.
As well as the standard fair use policy, this video is protected under the Treaty of Peace and Friendship 1787.
Moors are awake. We are taking our place on this planet.
Islam Moors.
My nationality is Moorish.
The thing I like about this neighborhood is every single house seems to have its own little bit of charm. Just being a single woman trying to compete with a lot of these couples, I lost out on about 13 houses before I came across this one. When I walked in the door, I was like, this is my house. So whatever I can do to get it, I'm gonna get it. You guys, I'm not even kidding. This is the literal SWAT team that was called.
Janetta Little was finalizing construction plans on her first home when a stranger changed the locks and told her that the house she bought was actually his.
They call themselves Moors. They basically say that they have ancestral rights due to a lot of treaties and tribunal law, that they have rights to the land here.
So you buy this place, you have this amazing vision for it, and all of a sudden you get a letter?
Yes. I got 2 letters actually. The first one I got from Jaleel Hugh L. There were like seals and fingerprints and signatures basically saying that my home was on someone else's ancestral lands. Well, I ignored it the first time and they sent me another letter saying because I didn't respond, now we own this house. The third time was basically when I hit the fan. So they sawed off the box, put their own locks on. He's now occupying the home.
How did they get him out of the house?
Oh, they busted the door down and they basically dragged him out. And it was really scary. Like, you know, I applied for a gun license, I got pepper spray, you know, knives.
Wow.
It was really traumatizing. Police officers still reeling from a deadly attack. 3 officers were shot and killed.
The manhunt is on for this man, a career criminal considered very armed and very dangerous.
In recent years, isolated and random incidents of violence, fraud, burglary, and squatting committed by Moorish extremists have put Moors on the radar of law enforcement nationwide.
A Newark home taken over by an alleged extremist group that not only changed the locks, but actually claimed ownership over the property.
The man who occupied Shanetta's home was never charged and still maintains the land belongs to him. We did our best to speak with him, but he demanded to be paid. So that interview didn't happen. But we did find a video he posted about the incident online.
This is actually claiming not the house itself, it's actually the land. It just so happened that the house is on top of it. If she did not come up so belligerent and so angry and so aggressive, she would have sat her down, explained to her what's going on.
Do you hear the arrogance in these Moorish sovereign citizens? He said if the lady wasn't so belligerent, he would have explained to her what was going on. First and foremost, sir, the woman just purchased a home and you broke the locks and started squatting in it. What type of reaction do you think a new homeowner is supposed to have? Now, the problem with these Moorish sovereign citizens is that they don't think clearly. To Moors, anyone that looks like them, you know, of African descent, is a Moor. So he said he took the home because it is on his ancestral land. Now, if you look at him and if you look at her, they can be brother and sister. So, sir, what makes you think that that also wasn't her ancestral land? You see the logic here? These people are just criminals and they try to use that as an excuse to stealing someone's home. Because, like I said, what if this was also her ancestral home? So pretty much you're stealing from another Moor. Why? Because she's a sleeping Moor? That's a term that these Moor sovereign citizens love to use. These people are just criminals. Point blank, period.
So what is going on? Historically, Moors are renowned as an incredibly powerful and influential group of North Africans. They once controlled an empire that included modern-day West Sahara, Algeria, Tunisia, and Spain. But many Moors believe that the Moroccan Empire expanded all the way to the Americas, making all black people ultimately indigenous to an America that predates the United States altogether.
You heard that. You heard what their beliefs is. Their belief is that all black people are indigenous to the Americas. So the lady's house that this Moorish sovereign citizen broke into is a black woman, which means she's indigenous to the land, which means this is also her ancestral land. So you stole from a fellow Moor. You see, the issue is these Moorish sovereign citizens don't think things through. So what we have here is more on more crime. These people are pathetic and their beliefs are abundantly ridiculous.
Many Moors believe that the Moroccan Empire expanded all the way to the Americas, making all black people ultimately indigenous to an America that predates the United States altogether. For most of the 1 million Moors across America today, that's just their origin story. Many attend one of the official Moorish science temples and peacefully study their own Koran. But for others, it's more than just a religion. Their indigenous identity means land rights, citizenship, and living under U.S. laws are all called into question.
Why is that not the first thing you want to do? Realign yourself with your ancestry. Realign yourself with the great God Allah. Realign yourself with your birthright and your culture.
So I want you to write this down so that for anyone who thinks they can challenge this information, it's available. And all scholars know this stuff.
Look up and be more enlightened to what's out there. There are many independent, non-violent Moorish organizations across the U.S. who believe they were colonized and that state laws shouldn't apply to them. One of them is the Rise of the Moors.
Disruptive and combative. They're all members of the Rise of the Moors, an anti-government sovereign citizen movement. This is a group that does not believe it needs to follow the law.
Jaleesa and her husband are founding members of this Rhode Island-based group who believe that the state doesn't have jurisdiction over them.
You all have been called sovereign. You all have been called anti-government. Do any of those terms ring true?
No, I think people like a good villain, and I think that it's really a lack of understanding of what we're doing.
Last summer, 11 members, including Jaleesa's husband Jamal, were arrested while en route to a militia training and camping trip. None of them could produce government driver's licenses or gun permits for their weapons.
Help me understand you all's relationship with the United States of America.
We, Moors, don't have anything to do with the United States government because we don't belong. We belong to the Moroccan Empire.
Excuse me, ma'am. I hate to burst your bubble, but there is no such thing as a Moroccan Empire. Now, everyone is entitled to their own beliefs, but ma'am, your beliefs are flat out wrong. Secondly, you want to tie yourself to historical Moors. The Moors that you try and tie yourself to were North African. Ma'am, your ancestors are sub-Saharan Africans. They come from West Africa. Okay, so you guys really need to let this Moorish nonsense go. Also, historically, Moors came from Morocco. Ma'am, you and your husband were born here in the United States, and I'm willing to bet my bottom dollar that you have never even been to Morocco. Now let's take a quick look at the definition of the word Moor and see if it applies to these Moorish Americans here in America. Moor, a Muslim of the mixed Berber and Arab people inhabiting North Africa. Now, words are very important. You see the word inhabiting there, right? Moorish Americans that claim to be Moors, that want to tie themselves to the historical Moors, you do not inhabit North Africa. 99% of you that call yourself Moors have never even been to North Africa. So if you haven't been to North Africa, then there is no way that you have ever inhabited North Africa. Now that word inhabited is there for a reason. So when we see the definition of the word Moor, Moorish Americans, that definition is not referring to you. So you guys just need to stop it.
Have our own separate nation, our own separate government, hospitals, towns, schools, daycares, our own police. You know, we're getting our rights violated left and right on the streets constantly. Black History Month. What do they show on TV or in school? It's always so-called black people getting hosed, getting mauled by dogs. It's nothing uplifting at all. It's never, look at what you were, look at what you can be. It's always like, this is what you are and this is what you're always going to continue to be. It's a form of propaganda and brainwashing.
According to Jalisa, the perfect storm of civil unrest, police violence, and systemic racism are attracting new members. People who are sick and tired of the status quo and frustrated at the treatment of people who look like them. What is it exactly that you all want?
Freedom. To not be oppressed. To not have life so hard to live. To just come together and establish our actual own government and our own everything.
Until then, Moors and non-Moors live side by side, sharing taxpayer-funded public resources. But in an effort to increase economic mobility and establish precedent for autonomy, Moorish nationals are leveraging lawsuits to further their agenda. These goals are enough to classify them as anti-government by the likes of the Anti-Defamation League and law enforcement.
This stuff represents a couple years of just collecting and gathering. You can be knee-deep in paperwork quickly.
Called paper terrorism by those on the receiving end, Moorish nationals overwhelm court systems with retaliatory lawsuits, liens, and filings, all creating a paperwork hellscape for government officials, most of whom have no idea what they're reading. Lieutenant Flowers, Alzo.
Good to see you. Nice to meet you.
Corey Flowers has been a cop for more than 22 years and has spent time infiltrating extremist groups and training government employees on how to handle them.
All right, good morning, ladies and gents. Good morning. Moorish sovereigns are very heavy into all manner of fraud. A lot of times very complex fraud, like mortgage schemes, postage stamp fraud, credit card fraud, wire fraud, a lot of bank fraud. Paper terrorism, you guys heard of this? You can use physical legal documentation, whether it's putting a lien against somebody else's property, filing a lawsuit against somebody else, in order to intimidate them, particularly in their professional capacity, which definitely creates stress, right? The idea that some folks you guys deal with could impact your livelihood, that's an intimidating thing.
Flowers himself has been on the receiving end of this tactic, which most often targets law enforcement and court personnel. I'm wondering if you can walk me through what this is.
Yeah, so this is a lawsuit against 2 former police chiefs, a couple mayors, me, and this fella's opinion. These are all the people that he believes wronged him legally. So this is a lawsuit for $4 billion.
$4 billion.
With a B, yeah.
Say what?
Have you seen an increase in the number of people claiming to be sovereign?
Yeah, there's definitely been an increase. Anytime you have an election where power changes, especially if party changes, you have effectively half of the country that gets into a panic to varying degrees. Panic like that will often drive folks to these movements.
What threat do these folks pose?
When you have a subgroup that just believes the rules don't apply to them at all, like that creates chaos.
There are now almost 3 million messages to the government to recognize Moors as a federally autonomous body of indigenous Americans. But that's not what most Moors want, and distinguishing themselves from that ideology has been a priority for the original Moorish Science Temple of America. There are Moors across the country. We know groups in Rhode Island and New Jersey, but neither of those groups are part of the Moorish Science Temple of America. We came here to their headquarters to speak to the Supreme Grand Sheik to see if he thinks these splinter groups are legit and if their practices are in line with their Moorish teachings. The Moorish Science Temple of America was founded in 1913 by Noble Drew Ali, who taught that all black people were stripped of their national identity and Islamic faith through racist oppression. At its peak in the 1920s, it boasted upwards to 35,000 members who aspired to uplift a fallen humanity. We've come to Sunday school to learn from the 8th generation successor of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the Supreme Grand Sheik.
Welcome to today's Sunday School. I'm going to ask some questions first. Is a man white? Is a man black? Man is not a color, period. Nationality was, is, and will always be what? The order of the day.
What are the principles that the Moorish Science Temple of America stand for?
So there's love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. However, we do have fundamental principles, and one of them is obedience to law. We're not encouraging members or anyone else to be involved in anything unlawful and disgraceful.
When the public sees Moors, it seems like they just lump you all into one group.
That's true.
But there are groups of Moors that don't comport themselves in the way that you all do. How do you reconcile that?
They're robbers and schemers. Moorish Americans don't do those kind of things, and it's written in our laws. We don't take people's property, and we're not anti-American. This is not an Afrocentric organization. And for those who try to make it that way, they will pay the price.
As the Moorish Science Temple of America, do you feel any sense of obligation to check those fringe groups?
Oh yeah, we check them all the time. All the time.
What does that look like?
It looks like you're being caught with your hand in the cookie jar. And we see you with your hand in the cookie jar. And you still lie that that's not your hand. But they don't have to be told that they're wrong as much as the law is telling them that they're wrong. Because whether you have affairs on or not, if you're breaking the law, you're breaking the law. And you're going to get yours.
All right, please.
Court, the next matter before the court is Connell versus Jamal, Doc 21-361.
Jamal has been incarcerated since last summer's roadside incident. If convicted on all 11 indictments, mostly weapons charges, he could be locked up for decades. Jaleesa continues to attend each of Jamal's hearings. We were able to speak to him through a recorded line after his most recent pre-trial hearing, where he remained steadfast in his mission.
This is a collect call from an incarcerated individual at the Middlesex County Bill Ricker House of Corrections.
Hello? Hey Jamal, how you doing?
I'm fine, how are you?
I'm good. What is the ultimate goal of the rise of the Moors?
What's next is to continue to try to do my best to educate my people as to what's going on and also remedies for a lot of these problems. We're essentially victims of genocide, and it's throughout the legal system of the United States, which makes it a crime against humanity. It affects every aspect of our lives. It affects our education, it affects our ability to do business, it affects our quality of life. I can't think of anything more important than trying to change it.
Islam Moors.
My nationality is Moorish.